Russia says the Syrian regime now controls almost 93% of territory in Aleppo city. It says more than 1,000 fighters have surrendered and left the east of the city. They also claim that more than 10,000 people have been evacuated from besieged areas. The UN says that at least 100,000 are now living in areas controlled by rebels. Well, a non-binding resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire in Syria has passed a vote in the UN General Assembly. The last proposal was vetoed by China and Russia in the Security Council on Monday. Well, Nick Harper's at the UN with more. So, Nick, good to speak to you first of all. And what was in the resolution that the Assembly voted on?
Well, the idea of this, Kamali, was to move away from the politics of Syria, which so often the countries get bogged down in, and put humanitarian issues front and centre. So it was calling for an immediate ceasefire in the country, but also to allow humanitarian aid into the country, especially to besieged cities. This was a draft resolution put forward by Canada, who was representing more than 70 countries who all felt the same. They were increasingly frustrated by the inability of the UN Security Council to pass resolutions. What we've seen over the last few months is that inability for the Security Council to work together to pass those resolutions. So these countries got together and put this before the UN General Assembly. That's where all 193 countries are represented. They put it to the vote. 122 countries voted in favour, 13 against, 36 abstaining. So it did pass. But the idea very much to focus on the humanitarian situation and try and push things through on that front.
And Nick, as you mentioned, this is the UN and this is a non-binding resolution. So what's the point?
That's right, yes, a non-binding resolution in the UN General Assembly, unlike the Security Council where they are binding. But we haven't seen resolutions pass in the Security Council. Just on Monday, Russia and China both vetoed the latest attempt to pass a Syrian resolution. Back in October, on the same day, there were two competing resolutions from the Western powers and from Russia, and both of those failed to pass. So the idea of this is very much to try and name and shame the countries involved. Many of the Western countries that backed this General Assembly resolution wanted to name and shame Syria, Russia and Iran in particular, and try and really add some political weight to try and force the Security Council to find common ground, but also to add the pressure on all of the warring parties in Syria to try and get them to lay down their arms and at least for a short time allow humanitarian aid into the country.
OK, Nick, at the UN, thank you.